You're listening to Confessions of a Top Producing Real Estate Agent with Jennifer Myers of agentgradschool.com. Today's episode is part of the How They Did It series. And today is all about my story, how I went from rock bottom to millionaire real estate agent and why Agent Grad School came to be.
Welcome to this episode of Confessions of a Top Producing Real Estate Agent with your host, Jennifer Myers from agentgradschool.com. Learn the secrets of real estate success that no one else will tell you. No fluff, no theory, only exactly what's going on in her own record-breaking business right now in today's market. Yes, you can have the real estate business of your dreams. Here's Jennifer.
Hello, agents who rock. All those grads out there who are part of the agentgradschool.com community, thank you for being here. I'm so excited for this episode today because it's the first of our How They Did It series. In this series, through the podcast, I'll be highlighting different agents' stories, how they got from where they are or where they were to where they are today, and how they changed their businesses, how they applied the things that we're teaching here at Agent Grad School to their business and changed it for the better. So in today's episode, I'm going to talk about my story, how I went from rock bottom, truly rock bottom, to millionaire real estate agent, and also how and why Agent Grad School came to be. It's funny, the number one question I get asked right now from friends or family, clients, and even the agents in my office is, you have a thriving real estate business. You worked really hard to get where you're at. You sell houses to your own clients. You help the agents in your office sell homes to their clients. Collectively, you're selling $80 million worth of real estate a year, and it continues to grow. So why on earth would you want to create another business? Why not either keep building the one you have or just chill out and sit back and relax? Why are you even messing around with creating agentgradschool.com? So I'm going to answer that question. I'm going to set the record straight, so to speak. And I want to warn you, this episode is a tad long, but stick with me because I'm going to give you a few things I hope you can apply directly to your own business. And these are what they are. The one question that I asked myself that was the pivotal turning point to go from struggling to truly rock bottom, and it's a funny story, I can't wait to tell you, in every way, to slowly but surely making over $1 million a year selling real estate. I'm also going to go through 3 strategies I applied to my business that turned out to be the cog that turned the wheel, so to speak. I'm going to go through what those 3 are. They're super easy. Everyone can apply them to their business, and I hope you apply them to your business after hearing them. And that's my intention. My intention with this episode is not just to brag or tell you my story or, have a rags to riches for no reason monologue, but I really hope that you can take what you learned from this episode and apply it to your own business. My goal with Agent Grad School is I want you to feel like you have the knowledge, that you almost feel like you have a magic wand to move any obstacle from where you are to where you want to be. Anything that's in your way, that is my goal. Not just with this episode, but with everything at Agent Grad School. I want to help you get to have the business that you always dreamed possible if you're not there already. And if you are there already, I'd love to know how you did it and actually have you as a guest on this podcast. So let's get started. Let's go way back. The reason I want to go this far back is I really want to paint the picture of the despair that I was in, because people sometimes see where I am now and they say things like, oh, easy for you to say, or yeah, it works for you because you're you. But I want you guys to realize that this was in no means where I started. And maybe you've been in a similar struggle. And so I want to just start from truly the beginning. So here goes. So it's 2001, I'm fresh out of college, and I think I'm killing it in the PR industry in my J. Crew suits. At least on the outside, that's what it seemed like. I got hired in the midst of the tech bubble bursting. I worked for a reputable PR firm, and I was helping clients all over the world. Everything from throwing parties where Tobey Maguire and Leonardo DiCaprio were on the guest list, to creating communications plans for Fortune 500 companies and trade associations that created policies for our country. I thought I had made it. I was big time. But inside, I felt completely out of alignment. I felt suffocated, and just this whole thing of like waking up and having to be at the same place at the same time every single day just felt terrible to me. And right around that same time, I read the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I had grown up kind of like the poor dad in the book. We were by no means poor, but both my parents worked for the government. I learned by example not to take any risks, just play it safe, put in your time, have 2 weeks of vacation, and life was grand that way. And nothing is wrong with that way of living. When I first read the book for the first time, I was just shown this other way, this other potential, and I loved it. And in that book, buying real estate was the ticket to that new rich dad freedom that would change my life. So at 23 years old, I had no money. I was making about $45,000 a year, and I bought my first house because I read that book. And I will tell you that the experience was terrible. I felt like I was just throwing spaghetti on the wall. I had no direction from my agent. I had no idea how much I should spend. It was kind of like spend as much as you're approved for. I had no idea where to buy. There was no questions like, what kind of lifestyle do you want to live? Or how do you want your commute to be? I was never asked questions like, how long do I want to live in this house? That might have helped me narrow down my criteria a little bit, because my criteria had all sorts of conflicts in it, which made it hard for me to make a decision. I felt like we just got in the car and drove to places that I picked out, and it was a terrible experience, and it got even worse. Not only did I feel like it was the blind leading the blind, but 2 things happened that literally made me ugly cry. One, I got a call from my lender the night before closing, that I was not approved for the loan all of a sudden. And I had to come up with $10,000 by tomorrow, or I was going to lose the house and also lose the deposit that I had put up. So $10,000 at that time was a quarter of my income, and I needed to get it by 9 a.m. the next morning. I had already put every single dollar I had into the deal in the first place. But then I remembered something. I remembered that my mom had a wedding fund for me, and she was saving for me to be able to use that money for a wedding one day. So I called her up and I said, Mom, I am not getting married anytime soon, but I need that $10,000 to buy this house that I promised I was going to buy. And I would replenish this money when it came time for a wedding, because I was going to be rich in real estate, and I saved the deal. So thanks, Mom, for giving me my wedding fund. And that's how I got the $10,000 to buy the house. But another thing happened, and this is what really kind of felt like I got punched in the gut. About 2 months after I bought my first home, I found out, and I don't know how, but I found out that in the city where I purchased, at the time I could have received a $50,000 grant from the city for my down payment, because I was considered low income at the time. It's like, hello, that was more than I made the entire year, and I would have never had to spend every single dollar plus my wedding fund to buy that house. And my agent never told me about it. My lender never told me about it. These were the experts, and they didn't even know about it. But here's the thing. What I didn't realize at the time was that this experience was so life-changing and so necessary for me to be exactly where I am today. So even though it was one of the worst times of my life, it turns out that sometimes the worst experiences actually turn into be exactly what we need to get from where we are to where we want to be. So I tell this story today not to bash the agents or not to bash my experience, but more to just illustrate the point that even if you think something terrible is happening, try to figure out a reason or try to use it for good. Because if I had never had that terrible first-time home buying experience, I would literally never have been able to change the business, my real estate business, from struggling to millionaire. And here's how that happened. So here's what started happening. Not only did I have that experience, but other people that were buying a house and telling me about their experience were having a similar experience when they bought their first house. I just kept thinking, shouldn't buying your first home be like one of those best experiences of your life? Like, to me, it's one of those moments that you should look back on when you're old and gray and think how great that was to have bought your first house. But no one that I knew was having that experience. So I thought, well, there seems to be a need. There's a hole to fill. Perhaps I can fill that hole. I wasn't really that happy in my PR job. I wasn't really making that much money anyway. I thought that I could become a real estate agent and I'd be able to at least make what the $45,000 that I was making per year. So without much more thought than that, I just thought it was going to be easy. I thought if other agents were doing it poorly and I had an idea of how I could do it better, that I just quit my job like 2 months later and I was going off to solve the world's real estate problems. But here's the thing.